In part 1 of this, I talked about how Haikyuu gave the viewer an impression of a lot of characters very quickly using parallels and foils. I talked a little bit about the character Kema last episode, and how the quick establishment of his personality allowed development to quickly happen without feeling rushed. But I would also like to explain how well I think Haikyuu characterizes individual characters who are minor characters. Though Kema is not a main character, he is a recurring side character that has come back several times and will come back more. So, I want to talk about a characterization of someone who is less relevant. Now, why am I talking about really minor characters? There are many examples of major characters I could break down the characterization of, and maybe in a future video I will. But that would take a long time and most likely involve a lot of spoilers. So I'm going to use a side character who appears in only 2 episodes. Not only does the brevity of their appearance make their well-developed arc that much more impressive, it also is a representative example of how Haikyuu excellently characterizes even very minor characters. But enough of these explanations. Who am I talking about? You guessed it, Hana Misaki! Even a seasoned Haikyuu fan might not know this name off the top of their head. I actually had to go look up her name. But if I said Jozenji's manager, any Haikyuu fan would probably go, "Oh, yeah," which, right off the bat, is a sign of a memorable and compelling character. Before I get into this, spoiler warning. I'm going to spoil the result of one of the matches in the 2nd season of Haikyuu, though it isn't a very important one. And obviously, I'm going to spoil the development of Misaki, who is a very minor character. I definitely think you can still enjoy the show if you know the result of this one match, and this character's side story, but if you are currently watching the show and are a stickler for spoilers, just get through episode 16 in season 2, then you're fine. With that out of the way, let's get to it! In the 2nd season, the main team Karasuno plays a match against Jozenji. Like Nekama, some of this team's characters are introduced before Karasuno plays a match against them. The viewer meets their captain and another player as they are hitting on the unhappy and unwilling Karasuno manager Kyoko, which isn't exactly a positive scenario, but we see they are confident and persistent, but fairly relaxed. Later, the 2 teams run into each other as they enter the gym, where they will play one another. The captain, named Terashima, waves to Kyoko, asking for her number again. 2 of Karasuno's second years and major characters, Nishinoya and Tanaka, who desperately love Kyoko, naturally jump to her defense, only to be stopped by the team's manager, Miss Misaki herself. She appears apologetic, but a little quiet and reserved. This gives us a sense that she is an in-between of the 2 managers of Karasuno, 2 characters the viewer knows very well. The dedicated and hyper Yachi, and the silent and shy Kyoko. Again, Haikyuu gives us a helpful comparison to understand a new character, in this case, placing her between 2 extremes. We don't see much of Hana after, until the match starts, where she says, "Make sure you guys get that ball." She still seems more reserved than Yachi is, but still cheering them on, unlike Kyoko. Then we see that, despite her compliments, the team is lacking. The team is said to have recently completely changed their style, partially attributing to their flaws. And their coach then comments how she's the last 3rd year left. This is some of the first characterization we get of Hana, but for now it's left mostly as a detail. It does leave the viewer wondering, how does she feel about the team? She's the oldest, she's seen the most, but the team is repeatedly said to have a whole new style. Does she like this? Well, Hana notes that when they get into a game, they play really well, and this displays the general affection she has for the team. But the team is not perfect, and are very brash, unlike how Hana seems to be. Jozenji's reckless approach to the game leads them to lose the first set of the match. Between sets, there is a break where we get more characterization of Hana. Now, quick Haikyuu background for the unindoctrinated. All the teams usually have a banner hung up when they play that describes the team's ethos. Jozenji's banner says simplicity and fortitude, which doesn't really describe the team at all. Karasuno's faculty advisor even says they should change it to wild and free. During the break, Karasuno's coach explains that until very recently the banner fit the team, but now it doesn't. We then flip to Jozenji's discussion during the break, where the team is chastised for being so impulsive. But they mostly ignore this and instead talk about how the banner doesn't fit them anymore and how it's lame. Hana says that simplicity and fortitude are cool too, but the captain says how what's cool or not is taste, and the banner simply is not accurate now, and is not going to be accurate for future generations of the team. She then has a flashback to several events she witnessed where the coach, who we learn is new, says that he's going to build the team from the ground up, which is accurate with how they've changed styles. We then see a former captain asking the now current captain what he will do when a game isn't fun anymore and he has to get serious, to which the current captain says he will still just try his best to have fun. She seems upset at the idea of just fooling around, but says nothing. This gives us a lot more perspective on her character. She has seen changes in the team, and the simplicity and fortitude are cool to her because that is what she was used to the team being, as the oldest member in the last 3rd year. She seems to not like the change, the lighthearted attitude, but she said nothing. This lets us know how reserved she really is, but how much she does care for the team. Her strained expression reveals she wants to do something, but she can't bring herself to do it. As she remains silent, the second set starts. The whole team is very tense as they continue losing in the second set, and Hana looks very concerned. As they fail more, they finally call a timeout. Jozenji does nothing productive and pretty much just says how they need to get more hyped up and try harder without actually strategizing on how to stop Karasuno's attacks. Hana has another flashback as this goes on. It's of her and the former captain talking about what they're going to do with the club. Hana says since she hasn't trained a manager to replace her, she's going to stay with the team through their spring tournament, while the former captain says he's going to leave the club but is glad she is staying. If you haven't seen a lot of anime, you might not understand why someone would want to leave the club in the middle of their third and final year, but in Japan, because of the amount of work that final exams and studying for tests to get into universities takes, many students stop extracurriculars during their third year to devote more time to studying. With sports, there is usually a fall tournament and a spring tournament, or a summer and winter tournament, and the seniors would leave after the fall or winter tournament. It's not unheard of to stay with the sport through all of the third year, but it is a lot of pressure and commitment to continue with your team. The former captain is likely doing this while Hana stays to manage, which admittedly is a lighter commitment than staying as captain of a sports team, but is still a lot of her time. In the flashback, she worries that the team won't listen to her, but the captain says that's not true, and then she comes back to the current situation. Finally, Hana breaks the silence. She criticizes how they can't succeed with their current methods and how they won't have fun if they don't take this seriously, and basically tells them to get a realistic grip, which rejuvenates her team. This whole exchange is a nice climax of Hana's struggle with the team. Not trying to stop them from having fun, but also wanting them to win and succeed, as well as get them to seriously pay attention to what she's saying in the game itself. The team does a lot better after this, closing the gap in points with Karasuno, and we see Hana grinning from ear to ear. However, Karasuno is very good, consistently good, and after a slightly reckless play by Jozenji, the game ends and they lose. Hana looks breathless for a moment before she closes her eyes and smiles knowingly. The coach thanks Hana for her words and says her understanding of the team is what allowed them to not completely fall apart at the end of the game. Hana tells the team to be nice to the first-year manager that will now take over, and then says she actually really likes their playing style, with tears in her eyes. The team bows and thanks her. Before I describe the final bit of characterization we see, which I think is the most compelling, I want to summarize what I've previously described and how it has brilliantly characterized Hana. We get a firm grasp of her personality by just the first impression, not as eager and emotional as Yachi, but less reserved than Kyoko. We understand that she was the final third year on the team, and that the current team is very different than before. We understand that despite how unsure she was, she finally, in what would become her final game, motivates her team and helps them become a serious threat. We understand all of this, and this gives her a visible character arc. In 2 episodes, we meet Hana, we understand her situation, and we watch her change. She is compelling. She has an interesting story. She overcomes her own expectations of sitting quietly and watching, instead passionately inspiring her team. She stayed with her team while others didn't, and even though they lost, she is still proud, still smiling, and for the viewer, she is amazingly compelling, even though we've had very little time to get to know and care for her. And for the final characterization I mentioned, she has a last moment with a flashback, which may be the most important few seconds of the entire episode. It starts with her as a first year, joining the team as a manager, and a former third-year manager and her working together. Then we see the end of her first year, the pain of losing the tournament for the first time. Next, we see her second year, with the former captain again with little Tsurushima behind them. Finally, it's back to the present. And what is not said is what really completes the scene. She looks around the gym, and for the first time, the viewer really understands what this last look around the gym is. She spent 3 years working and working, trying to make it back to this gym, make it back to win. And each year they've lost, and this is the last time, the last chance. Volleyball has been the backbone of her high school career. The practices each day for this tournament, coming to this gym each year. And now, they've lost. And now, it's over. And this ends with a longing look and a very touching conclusion to this team and this character's story. And Haikyuu has made us understand this team's evolution, this character's evolution, almost entirely in 2 short episodes. I chose Hana and Jozenji simply as an example, but this kind of meaningful characterization happens over and over and over and over again with every team in Haikyuu. Haikyuu is unique in the fact that there is not a single character I do not find compelling, and hopefully it's clear why that is so now. The understanding through parallels and foils, the character arcs for even side characters, even when constrained to 2 episodes through mostly indirect characterization of showing and not telling, Haikyuu makes all of its characters remarkable and compelling. And it makes Haikyuu simply extraordinary. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked it, you can give me a thumbs up. Or you could subscribe, because I plan to make more videos in the future, and probably more on Haikyuu at one point or another. So if you'd like to stick around, subscribe! If you'd like to talk to me about something else, feel free to comment. Haikyuu is available to stream legally and free on Crunchyroll's website, and I'll link to that in the description. If you haven't seen part 1 of this analysis on Haikyuu's compelling characters, where I talk about parallels and foils, go watch it! Also, if you'd like me talking about Haikyuu, you might like my other video on Prince of Stride and the characterization of its female lead, and about women in sports anime in general. Check that out if you want. Until next time.